I'd like to say to our guests, welcome home. Thank you for being here. That's kind of I don't know, it's just kind of been trademarked in, I guess, a lot of our people that are joining the church and say, it just feels like home. And that is too by design. We want you to be welcomed here and feel like you are special, because you are. And the stage is a little different today. I wanted to say, Daniel was in here at 9. Daniel and Erica Warren, they do the coffee ministry out in the foyer. And Daniel is so funny. I did this at 9, so I think it's okay if I do it at 11. He's got an idea, like with the coffee. He said, "Hey, man, I got an idea." I said, "Cool. I want to make a coffee bar." "Cool. I want to serve people coffee." I said, "Yeah, man, let's do it." So he even made him a sign. If you want to know what a 1947 Ford pickup door looks like cut up, it's got coffee written on it out there, okay? And it's really, really cool. He did a great job. But for the past 2 weeks, Daniel's been working on this. And I think he did a marvelous job with the stage. I think it just looks really, really good. And I just want to say a big thank you to him. So he did a wonderful job. Yep. So cool stuff. So you got some things when you came in today. If you don't mind, you've got a connection card. If you're a guest with us, love for you to fill this out today during the service. We ask our church family to do this as well and take some time to fill that out today. It's real easy. You can just put your name on there, and real simple. Pastor does this sometimes. I like to fill mine out. There's a prayer request on here. I'm going to put on here something. I'm not going to tell you what I might tell you. There we go. All right, and I need to put that in the offering plate today. It says, the lady on the front row, you're not supposed to be there. It was by herself. The lady on the front row is really hot. So that's my wife. So I'm going to give her the connection card today. There you go, honey. It was funny. I was talking to her. She said, "Don't talk to me during worship." I said, "Okay." She said, "You could write me a note." There we go. So I'm writing her a note, man. There we go. Just working on things, boys. Making it right, okay? That's good. All right, so here we go. I'm doing that because of what I'm about to do next, okay? And this passage is a very small paragraph at the end of a chapter in the book of Luke, and it is one that causes a lot of difficulty with some ladies today. And there's kind of like a passage in the Old Testament and a passage in the New Testament. The Old Testament passage is Proverbs 31, right? The Proverbs 31 woman, I don't know, I think most women hate her and don't like her at all. She's just perfect, it seems like. And, there's some believe out there that it's more than one. It's just like characteristics of a lot of ladies. There you go. That'd help you out, okay? It'd be cool, but the other passage is the one in Luke 10 that deals with Mary and Martha. It'd be neat if we could combine both of those, and I can make all of you mad in one sitting, right? I'm not. I could combine those. They would work well together. We won't do that today. I don't want to do that to you. But we have been taking this month and talking about at least mine, I know you guys aren't busy, but our crazy, busy kind of life. And a lot of these things that we do, a lot of sermons and series that we do, a lot of times it's things that I'm struggling with, dealing with, and we're just praying through these things. We're asking God what to do, and it comes out. That's the way it is. All right. Well, I was hoping that through this process, I might be less busy at the end of it. I'm not. I thought I might be more organized at the end of it. I'm not. And I thought I might have a little more rest. I don't, okay? So I don't know that every sermon is a fix-all to anything, but I do know this. We can find some great principles to apply throughout the Bible, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to find a rhythm to our life, because this is what we've learned. We've learned this, that if you love God and you serve people and you commit to doing right with your life, you are going to be busy. There is no way around it. If you're going to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, then Jesus said the very next thing to do is love your neighbor as yourself. So if you're going to love God and serve people, and you're going to do right because God's going to lead you to do right, you're going to want to do right, hey, you're going to be busy. Because people are going to want what you have. People are going to want the influence that you have in their life. You're just going to naturally attract people to you. It's just the way it is. And here's the tough part. A lot of times you're going to attract people to you that have problems. Everybody's got problems. And this is what you understand when you deal with people in relationships. It's messy. And we do things that we wish we didn't do, or we say things we wish we shouldn't have said. And, relationships are struggle sometimes, all right? And the busyness of our culture and our life does not help things. And so last week we talked about a self-reliance versus a God-reliance. And the fact that if we don't learn to rest ourselves, we'll wreck ourselves, okay? And this whole busy thing is not about eliminating things out of our life. There may be things in your life that don't need to be there. There may be things after examining your life you say, hey, I probably don't need, this doesn't need to be there. But for the most part, I mean, we look at our lives and we're like, I can't eliminate those things. I'm just going to be busy. Well, instead of being depressed about that and down about it, maybe there's a way we can find some rhythm to it. Find some purpose and some meaning in it. And the key, I think, is to get away from being so reliant on ourselves. And basically that means this. It's a motto that says, if it's to be, it's up to me. You're going to see that today in Luke chapter 10. You're going to see that in a lady's life, living with the motto, if it's to be, it's up to me. Versus a God reliance that says, God is in control and I'm going to trust him. Now, with the story of Mary and Martha, you have that on the opposite extremes of the spectrum. You've got one lady that's doing everything, and one lady that those ladies would look at and say, she ain't doing nothing. Come on, Marthas, help a brother out, right? I mean, right? Has the Martha-Mary story just really ever hacked you off? Just be honest with me. There's some women in the room like that. The guys don't care, all right? Guys just don't care. They're like, what? What? You mean, huh? And I don't know this from personal experience, but I've heard it. Your guys, our wives, they get upset because we're not doing anything. Is not resting something? When I'm watching TV, I am doing something. Y'all are not helping me out at all, man. Let's move on and get into the passage today before I get I feel like right now I'm in left field and I've kind of dug myself a hole. I'm just digging deeper. I need to come home, all right? But my wife may not let me come home, so I may need to use that couch in my office. Here we go. And the door's locked. There we go. Mary and Martha. Y'all, it's so funny. We have a process for joining our church, and we don't call it becoming a member. We say we want you to be an owner. And it's so funny. I tell in our new owners meetings, I say I almost feel like I'm selling the timeshare, and I swear I'm not. It's not what it means. It means this: members have rights, owners have responsibility. And I understand as a steward to the Lord God Almighty, I don't own anything. He owns everything. But here's something I can own. I can own my faith in Him, my belief in Him, my trust in Him. I can own that. And I want to take ownership of that. And I want the Lord God to take control of my life, but man, I want to own that. And we want a church where people own that. And, if you go to a fitness club and the treadmill breaks, you don't find a member. You go find the owner, and he fixes it. And so that's kind of the mentality we want to have. And in that process, we ask you at the end of the service if you want to join, to check a box that says to become an owner. We don't come down and raise your hand, and if you accept, and no if you don't. I've never seen anybody say, no, kick them out of here. I don't want them here. Let's just eliminate that process. So, We have a lunch where you come and you stay after the second service and you meet other people that are joining and you meet the staff and some leaders, and then there's a meet and greet time where Candy and I meet with you on a Sunday evening or a Wednesday night. It's just a smaller setting where you can kind of hear our story and our testimony, and we can hear yours. And then there's a class. We do a one-day class. It's on Sunday morning. It starts at 9:30. It's over at 10:30. And it's once a month. And it's a new owners class. And they meet in my office. There's a really cool area up there, a conference table. They sit around there. Well, today is it. Today was the day. And I had nothing to remember today but to bring the key to my office. Guess what I forgot today? There you go. So when they said my office was locked, it is locked. It's still locked. And they had their class somewhere else. So nevertheless, all right, I'm back home today. Left field is over. Mary and Martha, here we go, okay? 4 truths that we're going to talk about this morning associated with the story of Mary and Martha. 4 truths that kind of take this story and look at it from a different approach. Because a lot of times I hear this story, and I've heard a lot of sermons on this story, and Martha is just made to look awful in this story. And I don't think she should be. I just think she's kind of, well, like Jesus said, she's distracted, okay? And for the ladies in the room that are more like Martha instead of Mary, it's just deflating. It's defeating. And you walk out of the room feeling, man, I wish I was more like Mary. Well, here's the deal. Martha was made to be Martha. Mary was made to be Mary, okay? Mary, get it? Mary's made to be. Anyway, so you've got these 2 people that have different gifts, different abilities, different callings, and that's okay. It's just in this story, one's distracted and one is not. A little bit later, to help all the Marthas in the room, Mary's distracted and Martha's not. And then we finish it off with everybody functioning with a rhythm to their faith. It's really cool. So in Luke chapter 10, the story goes like this. While they were traveling, Jesus and his disciples, he entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. Ladies, how would you feel if you found out that Jesus was coming to your house? How would you feel? A little scared? A little overwhelmed? Maybe a little stressed? A little bit of anxiety? Nervousness maybe? I don't know how you would feel, but I mean, take the most famous person or most influential person you think there is on the planet, and they're coming to your house. What would you do? Most of us would go, and we're just... I mean, we're stuffing stuff in closets, kids in closets, slamming the door. I mean, everything. Yeah, it's so funny. I was not going to tell this story. I probably need to. I've told too many stories today. But we are attempting, my family we're trying to sell our house in Commerce to move this way to be closer to the church. And our life is down here. Everything's down here. So we said, okay, well, let's list it. So we did. And this week, the real estate agent called. He said, look, we got somebody coming to see your house Saturday at 2. Cool. Life just got in the way till about Friday. And then Friday was outside day. It's just you're all over the place. Saturday morning we had a basketball game. We come home and it's on like Donkey Kong. All right? Man, we are motoring through the house. And there was a place in our laundry room where we had a desk. It's gone now. And my wife said, oh, I think this mirror would look good right here on the wall. Look, man, my granddad was a carpenter for 50 years. He said to me one day, he said, son, I sure am glad you can talk for a living because otherwise you'd starve to death. There's a reason he said that. Hanging mirrors is not a spiritual gift of mine. And so yesterday, I'm trying to find a stud in the wall. I went and got a stud finder, and it didn't work because every time it got around me, it'd beep. No, it's not. Moving right along. Anyway, so it's going right across. Anyway, it goes across. So I find it, and I totally mess up the project, including the wall. And in 45 minutes, there are people coming into my house, and the first door they're going to walk in, right there is a hole that was getting bigger. And I just lose it, y'all. I said, good grief! I can't hang a mirror! Who would ask me to hang a mirror? And I'm just walking. I lost it. So I'm repenting today in front of my church to my wife, and my son goes, "What's wrong with Dad?" The mirror is hung. It is, as of this morning, still up. And the hole is covered, all right? So if you buy my house, understand that when the mirror comes off, there is a hole there that will have to be repaired, okay? So funny. Truth number one, y'all. I didn't do this at 9, man. Y'all just got me so energized today. Truth number one is this. I must set priorities because I cannot do it all by myself. Truth number one today, and before that you can look, it's on the bottom. We're going to get to the killer P's in a minute. You can't serve other people without first setting priorities. If you're going to love God, serve people, and do right, change it around a little bit, you're going to love God, do right, and serve people. You can't serve people without setting some priorities in your life to get some rhythm going. You can talk about balance. I think balance is impossible, but you can have some rhythm to the craziness. And in that, truth number one is this. You've got to understand, you've got to set priorities because you cannot do it all. Martha understood this in this story, but she learned it the hard way. While they were traveling, he entered a village. A woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. She had a sister named Mary, who also sat at the Lord's feet and was listening to what he said. That sounds awesome. That sounds wonderful. That's great to be able to sit at the feet of Jesus and listen. The problem was there were things that needed to be done. There were people that needed to be served. There were plates that needed to be brought out. There was food. There was drinks. There was all kinds of things that needed to take place. All right? And what we learn about Martha in this story is that Martha gets distracted because she's got all this stuff to do. She's trying to do it all by herself, and Mary's sitting at the feet of Jesus. Here's the way a lot of us kind of prioritize our week. We've got a little rhythm to our week, and it goes like this. Number one, I've got to take care of my home or your job or whatever. Take care of my primary thing. I've got to take care of my home. Number two, I've got to meet the next deadline. And number three, I've got to keep the people in my life relatively happy. For a lot of people, that's their mission in life. I got to take care of the main thing. I got to keep the main thing the main thing. Let's take my home, for example. I got to do that. Then, in relation to my job, my career, whatever it is, I got to meet the next deadline. And in the process of that, I got to do everything that I can to keep everybody around me relatively happy. That's absolutely impossible. And it stresses people out. Martha is kind of in this process. She's taking care of her home. The next deadline right now is the fact that Jesus is in her house. And she's trying to make sure she's a good host, making everybody happy, especially Jesus. Ring a bell? And so, in this situation, we learn some things, all right? Number one, the people on this planet that end up doing nothing are those who never realized that they couldn't do everything. In other words, we who think that we can do everything, many times end up accomplishing nothing. Because we can't let go of things in our life. Martha's in this situation, and she's got a whole lot to do. She's a server. And I don't mean that like she's a waitress or it's demeaning. I don't mean that in any way. Martha's gift is serving. She is serving people. That's her strength. That's her gift. But Martha is also distracted. And an important truth today is this. If you're going to prioritize things, you first got to learn you can't do everything. Okay? Number two, another truth is that we must set priorities if I'm going to serve others effectively. If I'm going to serve other people effectively, I've got to learn to set priorities in my life. Martha is at a place where she's serving, but she's not serving effectively. Listen to what she says. She had a sister named Mary who sat at the Lord's feet and was listening to what he said, but Martha was distracted by her many tasks. Key word in this next verse is the word distracted. Martha's got a job. Martha's back and forth. She's going. I'm sure at some point, as she walked by Mary, she might have even kicked her. I'm definitely sure she at least went, you know. I'm sure there was some kind of bantering back and forth. Who knows if Mary was even listening? She was, as Martha's would say, sitting at the feet of Jesus doing nothing, you know. She was listening. She was sitting at the feet of Jesus listening, and Mary, or Martha's just doing everything she can to get by, but she's distracted. She comes up to Jesus. She's just absolutely had enough. She can't take any more, and I love this. She comes up to the Lord, and she said, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to serve all alone? I don't think she said that like that. I think she probably said, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to serve all alone? So tell her to get up and give me a hand. Jesus knew the difference between urgent and important. He understood that. Listen to this. He was busy. If you read the Gospels, he was busy. But I never saw him busy in a way that made him act frantic, anxious, irritable. Frantic, anxious, irritable, proud, envious, or just distracted by things. I challenge you to go find it, because I haven't. He was always in control. You see, being a good steward of your time, it's not about selfishly pursuing the things that we would like to do. That's not it. It's about effectively serving others in the way that's best to serve them and in the way that you were uniquely created to serve them. But if you and I are going to serve people effectively, we got to set some priorities in our life. Martha's totally distracted by this environment. She's got too many things going on. Irons in the fire, plates spinning, balls in the air, whatever you want to call it. But instead of even focusing on those things, now she's just lost and distracted in the fact that Mary is doing nothing. Which leads us to truth number 3, which says this: I must allow others to set their own priorities. It's bad enough when you and I have so much to do and we're busy, and then we're trying to handle somebody else's schedule and priorities the way we think they should be done. That's the case here with Martha and Mary. Mary's not distracted. Mary's totally where she needs to be. She's right where she's supposed to be. She's sitting at the feet of Jesus. She's listening to him. She's loving life. Martha is where she needs to be, because that's according to her gift. She serves. She loves doing that. But she's lost the joy in it because she's trying to take care of somebody else. And this is a great truth. A great truth that's hard to grasp is that sometimes we got to allow other people to set their own priorities. Now listen, you can take that in a way that it was not intended. You can take that and, you can run with that and say, well, teenagers can take that and say, well, preacher said set my own priorities. I ain't got to do what you got to do. All right, don't do that. That's not exactly what I said. That ain't what I said at all. All right? But it's people's lives and schedules and things that we have absolutely no control over. and I'll kind of put it like this. It's getting upset when someone doesn't respond to a phone call, text, or email in the time that I think that they should. And I get hacked off. Don't they understand? Don't they know? I gotta know. And I lose track of the fact that they're busy too. And they've got their own priorities and their own direction, and it just kind of, it's tough. It's hard. And it's hard to trust God and let go. Because it might not get done the way we want it to get done. It might not get done at all. And it's hard to trust God with that, and it's hard to let go of it. And so, for me personally, I usually overcommit, and I lead people on rather than stating up front what my priorities are. In other words, what do I mean? I say yes to everything. Yeah, yeah, I can do that. Sure, give that to me, I'll do it. Hey, man, can you give this person a call? Give it to me, I'll do it. Yes, like for example, today, whatever you give me, I'm going to say yes. I love y'all. Yes. Pastor, I got an idea, let's do it. Yes. Yeah, the answer is yes. I am not going to remember anything I said in 2 hours. I'm going to go home and pass out. I'm going to wake up and life's going to be good. And somebody's going to get mad and say, well, you said I could. What? I didn't say that. Yeah, I probably did. It's so funny. They'll say, hey, preacher, here's my phone number. Hey, give me a call. Okay, yeah, I got it. Don't do that. Hey, can we have lunch this week? Sure, let's do it. Don't do that. You know, that's my problem, all right? What's yours? How does your life kind of get out of balance and get out of whack? In that, I kind of gave you some, and I struggle with all of these, so this is kind of hitting home for me today, but they're called the killer P's. And I'm not going to talk a lot about them. I'm just going to define them for you and give them to you. The killer P's are all associated with our pride. And they are things that take our life out of rhythm and out of a God reliance and into a self-reliance mode. P number 1, watch out for it. It's called people pleasing. It is living and dying by the approval of others. You can make some of the people happy some of the time, but very seldom will you make all the people happy all of the time. Have y'all heard that before? See, I believe that that's not right. I believe you can make all the people happy. And when you live like that and somebody's not happy, it goes, it's a form of pride. And it's very dangerous. Number 2, possessions. The desire for more. That desire, that people-pleasing, that possessive mentality will take your life out of rhythm and will lead you to do and say things that you normally wouldn't do. The third one, this one is funny. Pity. Self-pity. And it is the sympathy that we receive from others. I mean, we like that, don't we? Everybody, I don't know if y'all are like this. I don't know anybody that's like that. I'm not like this at all. I know you're busy. Oh, yeah, that's right, I'm busy. Oh, preacher, we know you're busy. We know it's, yeah. You know? Or something happens and we kind of get down on ourselves, and instead of having somebody go, boom, keep going. Oh, it's all right, man. It'll be okay. Everybody likes to be stroked a little bit, right? We all get in this pity mentality. Let me tell you something. Self-pity can be a form of pride, and it can keep you from being in rhythm with God. A lot of times we get self-pity going on because of a poor decision, a poor choice, a mistake that we've made, a bad habit that we've created. We take the sympathy from others that allows us to stay in that bad place instead of come out of it into a God place. Another one is called poor planning. The inability to schedule or delegate. Power is one. The need to be in control. Perfectionism. The fear of making a mistake. And the last one is prestige, which means achieving, arriving, and just being known. The killer P's, they can affect any of us. There's probably just about everybody in the room is going to struggle with one or more of these. If it's not people-pleasing, then it's probably going to be possessions. If it's not possessions, it's going to be somewhere self-pity or maybe poor planning or the power that we need to be in control and over everything. Or maybe it's the perfectionism mentality where we're just afraid of making a mistake or something not getting done. Or maybe it's just the prestige, achieving, arriving, just being known. Those things are dangerous and can distract us and disrupt us. In this passage, Jesus says to Martha, the Lord answered her. You know, she's already said, Lord, don't you care? Tell her to get up and give me a hand. Why did he say her name twice? Probably to calm her down. Martha, Martha. You are worried and upset about so many things. Martha, you're upset and worried about things you can't control, that are out of your reach. One thing is necessary. One thing is necessary, Martha, and Mary has made the right choice, and it will not be taken away from her. Martha's in a bad place. Martha is serving, and instead of serving with joy in her heart, she's distracted about everything, primarily Mary, who's doing nothing, and she's serving. But Mary is doing something. Mary's doing something that is right in line with her. No, I know there are people in this church, they'll come, they'll tell me, that's the pastor, I want to join, but I want you to know I'm not going to serve. Okay. I've had people say this. They'll say, well, this is what I want to do. I'm going to come and I'm going to sit. Okay. And while I'm sitting here, I'm going to pray. I'm going to ask God to prepare this service, and I'm going to ask God to touch people's hearts, and I'm going to pray and ask God who He needs me to go to minister to. So I really don't want to serve on a ministry team, but I'm going to just want you to know while I'm here, I'm working. When I hear that, I'm like, yeah, let's do that. That's awesome. But you know, somebody can look at that person and go, well, they're not doing anything. You know? When in reality, they're doing a whole lot. You've got to learn to allow other people, you and I do, to set their own priorities. And in this situation, Jesus said, Martha, Mary's got it. She figured it out. Leave her alone. She needs to be here. And that kind of leads us to the last truth, which is important because it says this. We must not allow others to affect my priorities. For example, all the teenagers in the room, college-age students, I think that's so key in this avenue of life for you because you can so allow somebody else to affect your priorities. If you're a young person that loves God, you're going to do right, you're going to serve others, I'm going to tell you that's going to go completely against the grain of anything that you're going to see in culture today. You swimming upstream, man, you a salmon. You going upstream. And it's going to feel like you by yourself. But you're not. But a lot of times when that happens, we feel alone. That self-pity hits us. We need some sympathy from others. And there is always somebody that wants to give it. You need to be careful because, take the big three, that we talk about, do youth ministry. You got to talk about don't do drugs, don't drink alcohol, don't have sex, right? All right, so those big three. Let's talk about those big three just briefly and just say this. Maybe you're a young person that says, I want to be a virgin till I'm married. There'll be people that tell you that's impossible. It's not impossible. Say, look, I don't want to drink alcohol. Say, that's impossible. That's not impossible. I don't want to do drugs. Okay, that's not impossible. But you can allow other people to affect those priorities in your life. You can allow other people to affect those things and, man, steer you in a bad direction. I mean, Mary could have very easily listened to Martha, who was walking by stomping whatever, sanctified imagination, blowing whatever she was, upset. And Mary could have just went, oh, fine, stay right here. And get up. What do you need me to do? You know, at that point, and then they're working. That's not where Mary needed to be. Obviously, Mary was in the right place because that's where Jesus said she was. And Mary was in tune with that. She was listening and she wasn't moving. She was focused. She had rhythm. Martha was distracted and she had no rhythm. But later on, we find this in John chapter 12. In John chapter 12, something drastically has changed. Something's happened. Martha learned from her previous experience. Mary has not. Now we find them in a complete reversal of roles. Lazarus, their brother, died. He died. You know the story, John chapter 11. He's dead. Jesus waited 4 days to go and see him. Why? Just so that God's will would be done, glorify God and show great things. And here comes Jesus onto the scene. We don't see Mary rushing to him. We see Martha running to him. Martha's running up to Jesus. Jesus, right here. You know, I mean, my brother's dead. You know that. I know you're here, but if you'd been here sooner, he'd be alive. I know that. Where's Mary? Oh, I don't know. Mary's upset. She's bitter. She's at home. You know, it doesn't say that, but I'm just wondering, why didn't Mary come see it? Mary, the one that was sitting at his feet, the one that was reclining there, the one that was just listening and on every word. Why didn't Mary rush out to see Jesus? Sanctified imagination. Maybe Mary's a little bit bitter. Maybe Mary's upset. Maybe Mary's thinking now, you know, where were you when I needed you? Man, my brother's gone, and now you weren't here. Jesus interacts with Martha. Martha says, I believe. Martha, if you believe, you'll see your brother again. I believe. Go and get Mary. They call Mary. Mary comes out. Jesus does amazing things. You know the story, man. He rolls the stone away. He says, Lazarus, come forth. If you hadn't said Lazarus, everybody would have come out. Just Lazarus came out. Boom, there he is. What we see next is a party. In the same house, same people, there's a party going on. John chapter 12, 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany where Lazarus was, the one Jesus had raised from the dead. And so they gave a dinner for him there. Listen, you can get so past this. You can just blow right past it. Martha was serving them. Lazarus was the one of those reclining at the table with him. Then Mary took the pound of fragrant oil, pure and expensive nard, anointed Jesus' feet, wiped his feet with her hair, so the house was filled with the fragrance of the oil. We get lost in what Mary was doing again, right? Mary gets a whole lot of noise right here. Man, she took a pound of fragrant oil, pure and expensive nard, anointed Jesus' feet, wiped his feet with her hair, so the house was filled with the fragrance of the oil. Great! Mary's at it again. Go one verse before that. They gave a dinner. Martha was serving. Lazarus was one of those at the table, sitting at a place of honor. Around the table with Jesus and these men, Lazarus is there. He's sitting where he should be sitting. Mary's doing what she should be doing. But Martha is serving. No longer distracted by the things she can't do. No longer sitting there worried about the stuff she can't touch. She's effectively serving. She's not trying to change somebody else's priority. She's serving with joy. She's doing what she was made to do. Question for you today. If someone recorded your life for 1 week and then handed that tape to a complete stranger, what would they say is the most important thing to you? What would they say brings you the greatest joy? By looking at that tape, what would they say brings you the most stress and heartache? They don't know you, never seen you. They follow you around for a week and post it on YouTube for everybody to see. It goes viral. What would those masses say is the most important thing in your life? What brings you the greatest joy? What causes you the greatest stress? By watching your life, who is in control? See, it's not wrong to be tired. It's not wrong to be overwhelmed. It's not wrong to be chaotic. What's wrong is to live life with more craziness than we want because we have less Jesus than we need. What's wrong is to give our life, fill it up with the craziness and the things that just throw us out of rhythm, and not allow Jesus to be what we need. Come and join us at the church at Southside on Sunday mornings at 9 or 11. Come and see what being a real follower is all about.